Unit 3, Presentation 4, a remorse statement. The remorse statement is possibly the most difficult element of the parole packet. I think it makes sense to put it after rather than before the life story because the life story has given context. So the life story's looked at the bigger picture, and now it's time to narrow in to the crime and the sense of responsibility and remorse for that crime. The question arises, though, is it really fair to frame it in that way? And that brings us back to our discussions in Unit 1 about agency and storytelling, and really the question of whether, when there's a lot of trauma and struggle in the bigger picture that's set out in the life story, is it really fair to hold people responsible at the more narrow level of the specifics of the crime? A few points to mention about that. Firstly, you're facing the parole commission and trying to get parole, and they are looking to see an expression of remorse and a sense of empathy for the victim. So in order to maximize the chances of getting parole, then that needs to be expressed. Secondly, the life story is still in the packet and it gives the context to the remorse statement, and it does give that opportunity to speak about the broader force field that was operating in the person's life. And thirdly, when you think about parole as being linked to preparing for re-entry, it's important to recognise that assuming responsibility for the future is a very intentional manner, is important for moving forward with success. So it's implicit within that assuming responsibility for the future that the person is owning the past as well, however out of control that past may have been. So what about when a person is innocent? There is no doubt that a certain number of people who are in prison are completely innocent. And anecdotally, people believe that when you maintain your innocence in front of the parole commission, you don't get parole. And we don't have hard data on that, but it seems like that anecdote is probably right, because one of the things that the parole commission is looking for is that assumption of responsibility. And it's also not, the parole hearing isn't appeal against the conviction, so it's not an opportunity to raise evidence as to why you think the conviction wasn't sound in the first place. So it's really a tricky situation for someone to be in when they're innocent. However, there doesn't seem to be a better option than telling the truth. Lying and saying that you did something you didn't do seems that it might come with other consequences to it. So we are sticking with the position that you've got to maintain your innocence if you're completely innocent. Regardless of whether the person is completely innocent or not, there's often a broader sense of remorse that can be discussed. And a remorse statement can address that, as well as addressing specific remorse for the crime. So they might express the remorse they feel for the impact that the incarceration has had on their family, or remorse for missing out on the child's childhood. And in terms of someone who is factually innocent, if they were, say, nevertheless present at the crime but didn't call the police, or there was some way in which they look back at it and realise they could have acted in a different way that may have led to a better outcome for them or for others involved, then that's a sense of remorse that they might express in that situation. Thank you.